Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Monday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. It's 5 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I actually was in the middle of my workout and I started thinking about the video I did yesterday. And I started forming some ideas of something I really should talk about. And I just stopped. I put my workout on hold. I was actually doing 1,000 sit-ups this morning. I rotate my workouts and like every 5 days, and that was my. So I'm halted. I'm temporarily stopped at 500 sit-ups right now, and I wanted to do this video. Okay, so yesterday I talked about where I am and how grateful I am, and where I might be if I wasn't deceased or in jail, or where I would be living if I more than likely I'd be homeless. And I started thinking about family members and people close to me that I owe my sobriety to, my being clean and sober. You could call it tough love, you could call it hitting rock bottom. But I've got 3 or 4 instances here that I want to go over with you really quick, where my family had just had enough after, and the doctor that I was seeing in detox, the same doctor I saw 13 times, that just had enough, and they just basically they gave up hope. They told me, just you're going to do what you're going to do, so we're washing our hands of you. And if it wasn't for those instances, I really. Looking back, I was hurt and I cried and I was angry. How dare you do this to me? My mother, my family, my sister, my stepfather, the doctor. And looking back, it's the best thing they could have ever done for me, because one thing it did is build up my self-confidence, that I could do this. Let me talk really quickly about this with you guys. There was one instance, my mom, this is really personal. My mother was at work, and I would go see her. I was in my 30s, 38, 39 years old, and I would go find her. At the time, I wasn't working. I believe I was out on workman's comp, and I was using heroin and crack cocaine. And every single day, I would go find her at work and hit her up for money. And I had already seen her like 2 or 3 times that day, I think. And I was feeling sorry for myself. And this is what I did. I'm really embarrassed to say this, but I pretended like I had made an attempt to end myself. I made scratches all over my arms, just scratches, bruises on my neck, and I went and found her. And like I said, it's embarrassing even going over this. But every time I did this in the past, it was like my last ditch effort to try to get some money that day. It's something I had done before. So I got some tears in my eyes, and I go find her, for like the second or third time that day, getting like $50 at a time. I'm like, I'm so depressed, Mom. I'm going to need, I don't have any money. I really should go talk to a counselor, but I'm going to need some money for that. You think you could help me out? Seriously. After I'd already, I was getting money from her several times every day, and I still had the audacity to try this, and I showed her my scratches on my arms. I'm so depressed. And looking, honestly, looking back, I had no intention of offing myself. It was a play on trying to get her sympathy, to get money. It's embarrassing to say that. This is about 20 years ago. And this one time, she still remembers this. We still talk about this to this day. She looked at me and said, "Daryl, do what you're going to do. So I'm washing my hands of you. I can't do this anymore. I swear to God, my own mom, my mom who loves me. We've had a great relationship. And after ruining her life, almost ruining her marriage, taking all of her money that she had saved up through years of hard work, I had milked her for all this money because of my addiction. She just said, that's it, go. I saw that look on her face. It wasn't a look of sympathy. It was just a look of disgust. It was just like, it was like, it's not how a mother would usually look at a son, and I was shocked. I was like, so I was like, oh, okay. And I played up the sympathy some more. Okay, I'm going to go do it. I got in my car and I cried. I was angry. To tell you the truth, I'm not sure. I'm sure I found a way to get some money somehow, probably pawning the last of my belongings. But looking back on that day, That put an end to it. That made me realize that there was a limit to my lying and deceiving, my manipulating. It was a hard slap in the face that day. And looking back, me and my mom go out to eat every week now. We have the best relationship. And she says, I forgot the word she uses. I was so disgusted with you. We talk about this now. And it's one of the best things she could have ever done for me. I'm making this video for people out there because I've gotten comments before, about people that have relatives or people close to them that are using. And it's hard to do this. Your instincts go against, just tossing somebody you love to the wolves. But believe me, it gets to a point you're better off, if she hadn't done that, I'd probably still be using today. Let me tell you about another one. I was living in a terrible area of the city. I basically become homeless. And my sister, out of the kindness of her heart, this was about 25 or 30 years ago, she took me in, and she was living with her husband. And and it was the house that I used to live in as a younger when I was a child. My sister bought it. So I was staying in my old room, and I was there for about 3 months. And she told me when I moved in, she says, there's no using, no drugs here. If you use, you're out. And of course, I agreed with it, but I would sneak it in here and there. And she caught me, and she told me, after 3 months, she says, when are you leaving? It's time for you to get out. And she basically just, she came in my room one day, and she said, we got to talk. And she said, it's time for you to get the F out. She didn't say it like that, but and I was upset, and I cried, even though I went against everything that I had agreed on. I was still all upset. How dare you don't love me? How dare you do this to me? Throw me out in the cold? And looking back, again, this is something me and my sister still talk about to this day. It's one of the best things she could have ever done for me. Because if she hadn't done that, I would have, without no doubt, 100%, I would have stayed there, and I would have continued manipulating and lying and abusing her trust. And I hate to say that, but that's the truth. That's the best thing she could have done for me, is kicking me out of there. One other instance, on a day, I kept going to my mother's house to get money again. And she's married to my stepfather. And he was usually very quiet, very reserved. We had a fairly good relationship. And he wouldn't, it was just, I talked to my mother, he'd never butt in. But this one day, I kept coming back more drunk each time. Knocking on the door. It was like a Sunday. Mom, do you think you could give me another 40, another 50? Like 3 times in one day. And one day, one of these times, it was like the third time, he just lost it. He says, I've had enough of this goddamn blank, and he just went off, swearing, and just got, and I'd never seen that side of him, man. He laid down the law. He's like, no more of this, and looking back, again, it's one that, I have a great relationship with him now. These people saved my life by doing this, by this tough love. This one other instance, and this one really was a kicker. The same doctor that always seemed to always be, there was 2 doctors at the behavioral wing of the hospital here where I used to go to for detoxes. Like I told you guys before, I was in and out of there 13 times for detoxes in like a 3-month period. I'd go in, I'd cry about, I'm so depressed, I can't do this anymore, I'm going to end it, and I'd go in there under dual diagnosis, depressed, a danger to myself, and they'd give me methadone to wean me off my addictions and everything, and I'd usually stay there for 5 to 7 days, and then they would recommend that I go to a full term recovery, and I never would. I would just go back out on the street after the 7 days, 5 or 7 days, and I'd start using again, and 3 months later I'd come back again, and and this was on my insurance. This was costing incredible amounts of money, and after about the 13th time, I was getting ready to leave after 5 days. They had weaned me down off methadone. And I forgot how the doctor broached it. But he said, this is the last time, Daryl. He says, obviously this isn't working. You're doing the same thing. This isn't helping at all. He says, you're just key, we're not going to do this anymore. So, don't come back here. This is a doctor. at an emergency room hospital, where I would go and tell him, I'm thinking of, I'm a danger to myself. And he just told me, that's it. We can't do any more for you. I swear to God, and that was one of the things I really depended on when my life would get so screwed up and I owed people money and I was at the bottom. I would just go into recovery, and it was like a little freaking vacation. I'd go into detox, and I had food, and I'd get to sit around and watch TV with girls and stuff. It was like a little vacation. That's unfortunately, that's the way I looked at it. And I was shocked. I was shocked that a doctor, would tell me, don't, if you're feeling depressed and thinking of offing yourself, don't come back here again, because, it's not working. We can't do anything. I can't help you, Daryl, because you're not helping yourself, and that blew my mind. That a few days after that is when I actually went to the methadone clinic, because I kept telling myself and the doctors, they kept giving me recommendations, each time I would come out of detox to maybe you should try methadone or medically assisted treatment. And I would just blow it off and go out and use, and this time I realized I was at the end of my rope. There was no more going back to detox. I was really screwed. Now when I really do hit bottom and I really am seriously considering ending everything, I can't come back here anymore. That scared the bejesus out of me. And it actually was enough. All those things together was enough to get me into the methadone clinic. And I didn't think it would work. I thought I was just going to, manipulate and lie and BS my way through it. And after about, I'd say 2 or 3 weeks there, all of a sudden I started to get a moment of clarity where I didn't have the craving. And I was like, I could do this. Not only could I quit the opiates, but if I really put my mind to this, I could have a good life. I could quit drinking. I could quit using crack. And it took a while after that, but that moment of clarity after 2 or 3 weeks at the clinic, it was all these things combined. Without a doubt, it was the tough love of my family and the doctor telling me, just no more, Daryl. This isn't working. We're tired of this manipulation, and don't come back. Don't. That's what my mother, my sister, my stepfather, and my doctor all finally told me. That's it. We're washing our hands of you. We can't do anything more to help you because you're not helping yourself. And they were serious. And that's what got me into recovery. And now over 17 years later, I couldn't be happier. I say that with all sincerity. It's the best time of my life. I've had 2 fantastic relationships with good, intelligent, beautiful, hardworking women with their own homes, their own businesses, and they didn't use it all. They didn't even drink. They never did, either one of them. And I learned what I could actually have, what I was actually worthy of, and what I deserved. And it certainly was more than just being a junkie, lying junkie, crackhead. And that's when it started. Tough love, man. It does work. It hurts. It's hard to do, but it's necessary. All right, recovery is possible. You guys, I got to get back to my sit-ups. I still got 500 to go. I'll be back later with another video. You guys have a great Monday.